So there is a statement that is going to be read. After the statement, we'll take 3 questions maximum. So before you ask the question, you identify yourself, your name, the house you're coming from, and you stick to the topic, particularly the topic that they're going to read the statement. Just stick to the topic and make it brief. Okay? So the statement is going to be in English only, and then thereafter, after you're on your answer, then the leaders will proceed to that small multi-rating on my right. They're going to do the official launch of why we're here this morning and into the afternoon. Okay? So this is the time they're going to announce the whole visitors who are here today. And after that, we'll be given a chance to ask at least 3 questions maximum. So if you have just prepare them, and then after that, we'll do the official launch. Is that okay? And then after that, we'll be provided by the names of everyone sitting with the high table, and everyone who will be reading the statement. This is some of the key details of what we will read. So be ready when you are. Get to go?
Are they ready?
Yeah.
We start. Bado kidogo.
Ready?
Kuna. All right. Bismillah. So this is a press statement on the Gaza genocide issued today at Jamia Mosque by the Voices of Palestine, which is a number of Muslim organizations, including Jamia Mosque. It includes the National Muslim Leaders Forum. It includes the Council of Imams and Preachers of Kenya, and other mosques and other institutions in the country. So we are all aware about the humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, which has faced daily relentless bombings at the hands of the Zionist Israeli regime for more than 4 months now. The continued plethora of war crimes, crimes against humanity, and acts constituting genocide committed by the US-backed Israeli regime across the occupied Palestine territory, including West Bank, by the way, has caused a lot of concern and consternation around the world. The situation in Gaza is undoubtedly the most tragic and catastrophic that has been witnessed in this century. Despite the incessant calls for ceasefire from the global community, including many members of the United Nations, Israel, backed by the US and its Western allies, has chosen to ignore the calls and continued with the genocide, killing, as at now, over 30,000 people. In fact, the number of those people who have been killed, those who are buried under the rubble, those who are missing, and those who have been wounded are in excess of 150,000. It's never happened in a short span of 4 months, that number of people being killed. The US itself, government, through its defense secretary this week, confirmed that over 25,000 women and children have been killed in Gaza. You also that announcement by the US defense secretary. This chilling death and injury toll occurs amidst a deliberately imposed humanitarian crisis by the Israeli authorities upon the 2.3 million residents in Gaza. 90% of the Palestinians have been displaced from their homes, and the entire Gaza has literally been destroyed. Israel is now employing starvation as a method of warfare. And you have seen the reports in the last few days. Dozens of people have already died, particularly children, of starvation. This is the same tactics that have been used by Hitler, by the Nazis. The same thing that the Nazis did to the Israelis unfortunately are doing to Palestinians. The situation is particularly exacerbated by troops who have made the delivery of humanitarian aid to hundreds of civilians virtually impossible. Kenya, let's come back to our country, is one of the most influential countries in Africa. Our president is now the chairman, if I'm not wrong, of the African Union. And Kenya plays a key role in fostering peace and harmony among states in the continent. It has sent forces to many countries, Somalia, DRC, and many all over the world, to protect human life and to enhance security. Kenya has won global accolades in the past for playing an instrumental role in midwifing peace process, which has given birth to the Republic of Southern Sudan, among others. With these credentials, it was expected that our government will be at the forefront in pushing for an end to the carnage and genocide in Gaza, and would call for a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire that will provide for a process to discuss creation of a Palestinian state as demanded by the international bodies, including the United Nations. Regretfully, the government of Kenya has continued to bury its head in the sand with regards to Palestine up to now. When Palestinians in Gaza prison broke the fence of the prison and entered Israel and killed Israelis, Kenya was among the first countries to condemn Palestinians. But when tens of thousands of Palestinians, innocent Palestinians, who are demanding for the freedom, they are not asking for anything else, determination of freedom as provided for by United Nations from 1948 up to now, in hundreds of resolutions, the government of Kenya has been mute. They have been quiet. They cannot come out. They have not come out to condemn Israel the way other countries have done. For example, in South Africa, people who have gone to court all the way to ICJ to demand for the rights of the to demand an end to the killing of Palestinians. The Palestinian issue is not an Arab issue. It's not a Muslim issue. It is a serious global issue. It's about human rights. It's about the rights of the Palestinian people who have been deprived of their fundamental rights, the right to exist freely in their own nation. Next to us in Kenya, next to Kenya, is Rwanda, which experienced genocide in 1994, where nearly 1 million lives were lost. And the world watched in the same way when that genocide happened. Today, the same thing is happening. Kenya has experience of what it means to be under a settler colonialist regime like the one that is in Israel. Kenya has experience of mass killings. It has an experience of oppression. It has an experience of subjugation meted out by the colonial British government against residents of citizens of this country who stood up against foreign occupation of their land. The same thing, the same resolution of United Nations that has allowed South Africa, that has allowed Mozambique, Angola, and many countries in Africa to fight for their freedom using whatever means possible. Those are the words used in the United Nations resolutions. Using whatever means possible, including armed struggle. That same resolution, which has been voted for by, among others, Kenya, is the one today is being condemned when Palestinians take up their guns to fight Israel in order to fight for their freedom. But Kenya has suffered this in defense of their land. The Mau Mau resistance fighters were being called terrorists The same description that has been given to South Africans, Nelson Mandela and others, when they were fighting for their freedom. Yet, Kenya government, whose people have suffered, Kenya government, which is celebrating Mashujaa Day every day, cannot come out and condemn Israel, a terrorist state, that is settler colonialist, which has taken somebody's land by force and do not want to give them their rights. Kenya government does not want to talk about it. So as citizens of this country, we are calling upon the government not to bury its head in the sand, not to be indifferent to the suffering of the people of Gaza and Palestine in general. The government of Kenya has a moral obligation to stand out and condemn the atrocities being committed against the Palestinian people. It has an obligation to rally other countries to support the Palestinian people. It has an obligation to rally other countries and needs to come out openly and back cases that have been filed by many countries, in the International Court of Justice. Countries poorer than Kenya have gone to the International Court of Justice. They have withdrawn their ambassadors. They have taken action. They have spoken out. Yet Kenya government does not even allow people to demonstrate in the streets of Nairobi in support of Palestinians. That's how low this country has sunk, despite the provisions of the freedom of expression in the Constitution. So finally, which is one of the key things, I think, this morning, we want to call upon the people of goodwill in this country to support our humanitarian appeal to the survivors of the ongoing genocide in Gaza by contributing generously to this call. We are going to launch an aid appeal shortly, Chairman and his team, and we want to appeal to all Kenyans, Muslims and non-Muslims, to come forward and contribute. Every person who's got a conscience, human conscience, who has humanity in his heart, must stand up to support what is going on. Again, the killing of innocent women and children. Women and children are not terrorists, yet they are being killed by people who are backed by the most powerful countries in this world. We had also called for us Muslims, globally by the way, and also in this country, to boycott every product that belongs to Israeli companies. That call will also, I think, be amplified by my colleagues. Thank you very much. I'll stop there. Chairman will add. Faisal.
Thank you very much. That we will take a few questions. As indicated by our host Faisal, please limit your questions to the matter that we're discussing today.
My question is really the Muslim community, the Jamia Mosque and other organizations call for demonstration in Nairobi. Just give me the mic.
We'll have a lot of activities running parallel to one another. Demonstration is just going to be one of them. Demonstration is going to be one of them. We don't want a rush job just to be seen on the streets. We'll have a demonstration not in Nairobi alone. We'll have a demonstration throughout the country, in every county, in all the 47 counties. The date and time will be announced at the suitable time. You wait for that time. Other than the demonstrations, the BDS, which is a global position that has been taken by people of goodwill, which is boycott, sanction, and divest, will continue in Kenya. We have got a lot of products that we have already listed. products that is manufactured in Israel. We have also got companies which belong to Israelis. We have also got services which are being rendered by Israeli companies or by agents of Israel. All that will be listed and they will be boycotted. We call upon people of conscience. This is not a matter of Muslim, non-Muslim. It's a matter of humanity. Anybody who has got a drop of conscience in his heart will not be able to stand what is going on at the moment in Palestine. And by the way, the media is covering what's happening in Gaza. Equally, the same thing is happening in the West Bank. Equally, the colonial settlers are taking more land from the Palestinians now as we sit and talk here. So all these are going on. We are calling upon our compatriots in this country. We are calling upon Kenyans of goodwill to stand up. If this was happening in Kenya, we'll stand up for it. We should stand up for it if it's happening to any part of the world. We are known to have taken lead in other activities in the past, and we call upon our brothers and sisters in this country to stand with the people of Palestine. As was mentioned by Honorable Below earlier, we call upon the government of Kenya, led by President Ruto, to take concrete steps to show that it stands up for humanity. Kenya is a signatory to all the international treaties and all the charters that are there. They are members of the United Nations, and the United Nations is absolutely clear. Kenya, by law, is obliged to take action to stop genocide. We have not seen the Kenya government coming out explicitly condemning the action of these Israeli genociders. We have not seen them coming openly and demanding of the opening of the border and getting food, water, electricity, and medicine into Gaza. So the Kenya government, as our government that we voted for, as people who represent us, as morally they are the conscience of the nation, they should stand up to take this message forward. Thank you.
Please name and where you're from. Name and where you're from.
I'm Adam from KBC. Are you satisfied with the United Nations? The action or anything that thinking about Palestine? Are you satisfied with what the action that the United Nations is taking? Are you calling for the United Nations to be disbanded? The kidnapping from the United Nations is still in Gaza. The attack is still in Gaza. Are you calling for the United Nations to be disbanded?
To answer your question, we are not calling for the United Nations to disband. And let us call a spade a spade. The United Nations has fulfilled its mandate. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Guterres, to the best of his ability, has tried to highlight this matter. He went on the borderline of almost condemning a member nation, which is the limit you could have gone. He has demanded for opening up of the borders. He has demanded of free flow of food and medicine. He has gone up to Rafah at the gate of Gaza, appealed, and appealed. The United Nations bodies that are there, the United Nations Commission on Human Rights spoke about it. UNICEF talked about the children. World Health Organization talked about the suffering of people in hospitals and so on. All the organs of the United Nations spoke about the genocide that's going on at the moment. International organizations that are human rights, Amnesty International, Global Watch, and so on, all of them stood up. We also appreciate very much the citizens of the Western countries, not the governments. We condemn particularly the action of American government under the leadership of Biden. He has sacrificed the lives of millions of human beings because of votes. The expediency of the election which is coming is what has made the Palestinians the sacrifice. Because he wants the vote of the Jewish lobby and the finances from the Zionists in America. he has decided to sacrifice the lives, and shame on him. He is being called now, the new name is Biden, the genocider. So that's what happens to America. The American public have stood with the people of Palestine. They have held demonstrations in New York, they have held demonstrations in Washington, they have blocked the roads, they have done everything within their capacity. But unfortunately, the political power in America has been taken hostage by the finances of the Zionists. The same thing happens to Britain, the same thing is what's happening right now in France. However, the world is rising. What we call upon is that we require a review of the United Nations laws and the structures within the United Nations. One country cannot take the whole world hostage. It's only America that has vetoed against the ceasefire. So we condemn those countries. The United Nations should continue, but it has to be reviewed in terms of power play.
Just to add on what Chairman has said, even at the United Nations, there are many standing resolutions against certain actions with this Zionist state of Israel that have not been followed through. So in terms of process and procedure, there are several steps that have been taken in the United Nations, and two things have happened. One is, like Chairman and the statement has said, certain countries have vetoed against certain processes and steps. And two, there's been no follow-through with standing resolutions the same way that other countries have been done, like Iraq and others, where forces were moved in quickly and took actions against those nations. No such action has been taken against the Zionist states because it's backed by, as the statement and Chairman has said, by certain countries that have veto power at the UN General Assembly.
Is it possible for the Gazans, the Palestinians at the point of the side of Gaza to be evacuated to come back, so that, because we've seen efforts of aid trying to reach them, but they are blockade of aid. So even the humanitarian people are now providing the strategy. Do you think it's going to reach them? Because the current ones are not reaching the affected, the victims. They are being blocked by the Israeli aid.
It's a very good question. If I got you right, is why don't we remove the Gazans from there, because they are being killed and they are being starved. Remember, people struggle and die for their land. In this country, with the might of the British Empire at that particular time, Kenyans took up guns and died for their land. In the same way, the Gazans and the Palestinians have been moved from the land to create what is currently Israel. There was no Israel. It is the Palestinians who have been moved from their land. In 1948, 750,000 were moved and brought what is called today the Gaza. Constantly, their land is being taken away. The aim of the Zionists right now is exactly the question you asked. That's what they want to see. They want to push them out into the Sinai, and they will never come back. Just as much as you know, there are millions of Palestinians who are refugees in Jordan, they are refugees in Lebanon, they are refugees in the Western countries, and all over the world. So they want to create other 6-7 million refugees out of Palestine, which they will not accept. My position is that they should die there on their land fighting. The question is, they want to eradicate Hamas. Hamas are freedom fighters. People fear this word. They are freedom fighters. Hamas is a freedom fighter to liberate Palestine. It is what ANC was in South Africa. It is what the Mau Mau movement in Kenya was in Kenya. They are fighting to liberate their land, which has been subjugated, oppressed, and colonized over the last 75 years. And they will continue doing that. And ultimately, the right will always win. The Israelis have already lost the world. A few Zionists are left supporting them. It's a matter of time. So Palestinians will sacrifice more lives. Probably they'll sacrifice another 1 million, but ultimately they will be liberated. And they should not leave their land, they should die in their land. I am not hearing you, brother. Raise your voice.
Israel has agreed to ceasefire and munition towards the Gaza and Egypt. They are waiting explosive by Hamas. So I don't know what to take from that.
If Israel has accepted the ceasefire, they are the ones who are killing people. They should stop it. You know, there are no conditions there. It is not a fight between two people. It is one power supported by their Western allies that is armed and killing people. So if they have accepted the ceasefire, they should stop it then. Now. They should stop it now. If it's a matter of negotiations of the release of hostages, that can be done at any time. But every minute, me and you are sitting here and talking. People are dying because of bullets, because of snipers. They are dying because of bombardment from the sea. They are dying because of bombs landing from the air. And people are dying because of starvation. So if they are serious about it, let them stop and go and start talking. Please, voice.
As leaders, are you satisfied with the actions taken by the United Nations Security Council?
We've answered that question.
The United Nations Security Council, a motion was brought that actually there should be a ceasefire. 3 times. It was accepted by all members except 2. Britain, which abstained, did not vote against it, and America, which has used its veto so many times to oppress other countries, yet again they vetoed and said the war should continue. And there is no war. It is killing which is going on. By you vetoing stoppage of bloodshed, you are supporting continued killing. So Biden has given instructions to Israel that actually they should continue killing. And more importantly, it is not true that Israel is fighting alone. American personnel in the military are fighting inside Israel by air and by sea. So it has to be known that it's not only Israelis. That is why you saw recently an Air Force man went and burned himself to death, said, I will not be part of this genocide. That is the witness.
Thank you very much, everyone. I think that brings us to the end of this session. We will now proceed to another part of this process, and Faisal, please take us to the next stage.
So we're going to proceed. The leaders are going to proceed, particularly those in the high table. They're going to proceed. We're going to unveil the banner that is there. Thereafter, while they're still standing there, we're going to get the vote of thanks and the closing dua by the chairman of Council of Imams and Preachers of Kenya, Sheikh Hassan, chairman of Nairobi, inshallah. Just want to stand in there, and then we can discuss and give out our approach. So leaders,
Bismillah.